At a glittering Hamptons party, billionaire Roman Blake bets he'll only marry the woman who can beat him at chess in 3 moves. When his quiet housemaid Amira Cole accepts the challenge and wins, his life changes forever. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The summer sun shone brightly over Roman Blake's grand estate in the Hamptons. At 33, Roman was exactly where he wanted to be in life: successful, wealthy, and completely independent. His tech company had made him a millionaire many times over, and his annual summer parties were the talk of the East Coast elite. Tonight's gathering was no different. Crystal champagne glasses clinked as men in designer suits and women dripping with diamonds mingled on his marble terrace. A grand piano played softly in the background while waitstaff in crisp uniforms served expensive hors d'oeuvres. Roman stood by the bar, watching his guests with mild amusement. Tall, with dark hair and striking blue eyes, he knew he cut an impressive figure in his tailored suit. Women often threw themselves at him, but he never let anyone get too close. Love, in his experience, was a game for fools. "Another successful party, Roman," said Marcus Wellington, a longtime business associate, approaching with a drink in hand. "Though I'm surprised you're still hosting these things alone. When are you going to settle down with someone?" Roman laughed and took a sip of his Merlot. "Marriage? Not likely. I prefer to keep my life uncomplicated." "That's what they all say," Marcus replied with a knowing smile. "Until the right woman comes along." "There is no right woman," Roman said dismissively. "Just people looking to take advantage of each other. I prefer chess. At least there the rules are clear." A small crowd had gathered around them now, hanging on Roman's every word. He enjoyed the attention, the way people looked at him with admiration and envy. "Speaking of chess," Roman continued, gesturing toward the custom marble chess set at the end of the terrace. "That's the only game worth playing. Strategy, intelligence, no emotion and nonsense." By now, the wine had loosened his tongue more than usual. He leaned against the bar, feeling bold and reckless. "Tell you what," he announced to the gathered guests, his voice carrying across the terrace. "The day a woman beats me at chess in 3 moves, I'll marry her on the spot." The crowd erupted in laughter. Everyone knew Roman was unbeatable at chess. It was one of his many points of pride. 3 moves? Marcus chuckled. "That's impossible." "Exactly," Roman smirked. "Which is why I'll die a bachelor." More laughter rippled through the crowd. No one noticed the young woman cleaning up empty glasses at the edge of the terrace. No one except Roman, whose gaze suddenly locked with hers. Amira Cole had worked for Roman's household staff for just over a month. At 26, she was quiet and efficient, keeping to herself and doing her job well. Most of the time, the wealthy guests didn't even see her. She was just another uniformed worker, invisible to their privileged eyes. But something about her had caught Roman's attention from the start. Perhaps it was the intelligence in her dark eyes, or the way she carried herself with quiet dignity despite her position. Tonight, she wore the same black uniform as the other staff, her hair pulled back neatly. As their eyes met across the terrace, Roman felt an unexpected jolt. There was something in her expression, disapproval, perhaps. Whatever it was, it unsettled him. Then, to his surprise, Amira set down her tray and walked directly toward the chess table. The guests fell silent, watching in shock as she approached. 3 moves, she said, her voice clear and steady. "You sure about that, Mr. Blake?" The crowd gasped. No one spoke to Roman Blake that way, especially not a member of the staff. Roman raised an eyebrow, more intrigued than offended. "You know how to play, sweetheart?" Amira's expression hardened at the condescending tone. "Better than you know how to shut up." Another gasp from the crowd. Marcus stepped forward, looking concerned. "Roman, should I call security?" But Roman waved him off, a smile playing at his lips. "No need. This is interesting." He gestured to the chair across from the chess table. "Please sit. Show us what you can do." Amira sat down, still wearing her work apron. Roman took the seat opposite her, an amused smile on his face. He couldn't remember the last time someone had challenged him so directly. "Ladies first," he said, gesturing to the board. Amira moved her pawn without hesitation. Roman responded quickly, confident in his strategy. The guests gathered around, watching with a mixture of shock and amusement. 3 moves later, Amira sat back in her chair. Checkmate. Roman stared at the board in disbelief. It wasn't possible. He'd never lost so quickly, so completely. He looked up at Amira, seeing her in an entirely new light. The terrace fell silent. Then, slowly, laughter began to spread among the guests. Nervous, uncomfortable laughter. "Well, I guess our host is getting married," someone called out, thinking it was all still a joke. But Roman wasn't laughing. For the first time in years, he felt exposed, vulnerable, and strangely exhilarated. "I guess I owe you a ring," he said quietly, looking directly at Amira. Without a word, she stood up, wiped down the chess pieces with a cloth from her apron pocket, and walked away, leaving Roman staring after her in stunned silence. The next morning, Roman couldn't stop thinking about Amira and their chess match. He'd barely slept, replaying those 3 moves over and over in his head. How had she done it? And why did he care so much? He found himself wandering through his mansion, looking for her. The cleaning staff was busy erasing all evidence of last night's party, but Amira was nowhere to be seen. "Where's the young woman who was working the terrace last night?" he asked Mrs. Winters, his housekeeper. "Amira? She's cleaning the library, Mr. Blake," Mrs. Winters replied, looking surprised at his interest. Roman nodded his thanks and headed toward the library. He paused at the doorway, watching as Amira carefully dusted the shelves of rare books. She moved with purpose, her focus complete. "That was quite a show you put on last night," he said, stepping into the room. Amira turned, her expression guarded. "I was just doing my job, Mr. Blake." "Your job is to clean my house, not to humiliate me in front of my guests," he said, but there was no real anger in his voice, only curiosity. "I apologize if I overstepped," she replied, though she didn't sound particularly sorry. "It won't happen again." Roman moved closer, studying her face. "Where did you learn to play like that?" For a moment, he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, "My grandfather taught me. He was a chess grandmaster." He died 5 years ago," she said simply, turning back to her work. "I'm sorry," Roman said, and he meant it. "And now you're cleaning houses?" Amira stopped, her hand tightening around the duster. "Not everyone has the luxury of pursuing their dreams, Mr. Blake. Some of us have to work to survive." The sharpness in her voice took him by surprise. Most people were careful not to offend him, especially those who work for him. "Why are you cleaning my house when you should be teaching at Oxford?" he asked. "Why are you so surprised a maid might be smarter than you?" she countered. Roman laughed, genuinely amused by her boldness. "Most people don't talk to me the way you do. Most people want something from you," she replied. "I don't." That caught him off guard. He watched as she continued working, moving efficiently from shelf to shelf. "About what I said last night," he began. "The marriage proposal?" Amira shook her head. "We both know you weren't serious. It was just a rich man's joke. What if it wasn't?" The words surprised him as much as they did her. Amira finally looked at him, her eyes searching his face. "Mr. Blake, I'm not interested in being your latest novelty. I'm here to do a job, get paid, and go home. That's all." Roman felt strangely disappointed by her dismissal. "What if I offered you a different job? Something more suited to your skills?" "What kind of job?" "I've been thinking about starting a chess program for underprivileged kids," he said, the idea forming as he spoke. "Someone with your talent could design and run it. Full funding, complete creative control." Amira's expression changed, a flicker of interest crossing her face before she masked it. "Why would you do that?" "Let's call it making amends for my arrogance," he said with a smile. "No strings attached?" she asked skeptically. "None." She seemed to consider it for a moment. "I should say no, but I'll think about it," she conceded. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to finish." Roman nodded and turned to leave, pausing at the door. "By the way, those 3 moves you used. I've been studying chess for 20 years and never seen that combination. My grandfather's secret weapon," she said, a small smile finally breaking through her serious demeanor. "He saved it for special occasions." "Like humbling, arrogant millionaires?" "Exactly like that," she agreed. As Roman left the library, he felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. genuine interest in another person. Amira Cole was unlike anyone he'd ever met, and he couldn't wait to find out more about her. Later that day, Roman found himself distracted during an important business call. His thoughts kept drifting back to Amira and their conversation. There was something refreshing about her directness, her lack of pretense. "Roman, are you listening?" The voice of his CFO, David Chun, brought him back to reality. "Sorry, David. What were you saying?" "The merger with Tech Global. They're pushing for a meeting next week." "Right, of course," Roman said, forcing himself to focus. "Set it up, and have the legal team prepare the preliminary paperwork." After hanging up, Roman walked to the window of his home office, looking out at the manicured gardens below. He spotted Amira crossing the lawn, carrying a basket of laundry toward the staff quarters. Without thinking twice, he left his office and headed outside, catching up to her near the rose garden. "Have you considered my offer?" he asked. Amira stopped, turned to face him. "It's been 3 hours, Mr. Blake. I'm not known for my patience," he admitted. "And please call me Roman." She shifted the heavy basket in her arms. "I have considered it, and I have conditions." Roman felt a smile tugging at his lips. "Of course you do. The program would need to be accessible to all children, regardless of background. No screening based on potential or previous experience." "Agreed. And I would need complete control over curriculum and teaching methods." "Already promised that," he reminded her. "And my employment with you would be strictly professional." "No complications." Roman raised an eyebrow. "Complications? You know what I mean," she said firmly. "This isn't some romantic movie where the rich man falls for the maid. Is that what you think this is?" "I think you're not used to being beaten at anything," Amira said bluntly. "And right now, I'm a puzzle you want to solve. Once you do, you'll lose interest." Roman was taken aback by her perception. Was she right? Was this just about his wounded pride? "You seem very sure about what I'm thinking," he said. "I've known men like you my whole life, Mr. Blake. Maybe not as rich, but just as certain they know everything." Roman took the laundry basket from her arms, ignoring her protest. "Let me help you with this. And while we walk, you can tell me more about this grandfather of yours, the chess master." For a moment, he thought she would refuse. Then, surprisingly, her expression softened. His name was William Cole. He taught mathematics at City College for 40 years, but chess was his real passion. As they walked toward the staff quarters, Amira began to open up, telling Roman about the man who had raised her after her parents died in a car accident when she was 10. How he had taught her chess as a way to process her grief, showing her that life, like chess, required both strategy and adaptability. "He used to say that chess is like life," she explained. "Sometimes you have to sacrifice something valuable to win in the end." "What did you sacrifice?" Roman asked quietly. Amira looked at him, surprised by the perceptiveness of his question. "My chance at college. When Grandpa got sick, someone had to pay the medical bills. So I worked instead of going to school." They had reached the staff quarters now. Roman set down the basket, suddenly aware of how different their worlds were. "I'll have my assistant draw up a contract for the chess program," he said. "Take some time to think about what you'll need to make it successful." Amira nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Blake." "Roman," he corrected her. "Roman," she repeated, the name sounding different in her voice, less formal, more real. "I still don't understand why you're doing this." He considered her question carefully. "Let's just say you've made me curious about what else I might be wrong about." As he walked back to the main house, Roman felt lighter somehow, as if a weight he hadn't known he was carrying had been lifted. For the first time in years, he was looking forward to something that had nothing to do with business or social status. Amira Cole had beaten him in 3 moves, but something told him that was just the beginning of the game. Over the next few weeks, Amira continued her cleaning duties while also working on plans for the chess program. Roman had given her access to a small office near the library, where she spent her evenings outlining curriculum and drafting budgets. Roman found himself inventing reasons to check on her progress, bringing her coffee, or asking questions that could have easily been answered by email. Each time, their conversations lasted longer, straying from chess to books, music, politics, anything that came to mind. One evening, he found her still working well past midnight, surrounded by papers and looking exhausted. "You should get some rest," he said from the doorway. Amira looked up, surprised. "I didn't realize how late it was. You've been at this for hours. The program doesn't have to be perfect right away." She sighed, rubbing her eyes. "I just want to get it right. These kids deserve a real chance." Roman entered the room, taking a seat across from her desk. "Kids like you were?" "I was lucky," she said. "I had my grandfather. Many of these children have no one who believes in them. And now they'll have you," Roman said softly. Their eyes met across the desk, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Roman felt something shift between them, a connection that went beyond employer and employee. "I should go," Amira said, breaking the silence. She gathered her papers quickly, avoiding his gaze. "Amira," Roman said, stopping her as she reached the door. "Would you have dinner with me tomorrow night? Not to discuss work. Just dinner." She hesitated, her hand on the doorknob. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why not?" "Because you're my boss," she said. "And because men like you don't have dinner with women like me unless they want something." What I want is just your company?" he asked. Amira looked at him, then really looked at him, as if trying to see past his wealth and status to the man beneath. "Good night, Roman," she said finally, and left. Roman stayed in the office long after she was gone, wondering when exactly Amira Cole had gone from being an intriguing challenge to someone he couldn't stop thinking about, and wondering, too, what he was going to do about it. The next morning, Roman sat in his home office, staring at his computer screen without really seeing it. His mind kept drifting back to Amira and her rejection of his dinner invitation. He wasn't used to being turned down, and strangely, it only made him more interested. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. His assistant, Jessica, entered with a stack of papers. "The contracts for the chess program, Mr. Blake," she said, placing them on his desk. And Mr. Chun called again about the Tech Global merger. Roman nodded absently. "Thank you, Jessica." "Is everything all right, sir?" she asked, noticing his distraction. "Fine," he said quickly. "Just thinking about a new project." After Jessica left, Roman picked up the contracts. He'd had his legal team prepare everything exactly as Amira had requested. Full funding, complete creative control, and a generous salary that would allow her to quit her cleaning job. He found himself smiling as he imagined her reaction. Would she be surprised? Grateful? Or would she just see it as another rich man throwing money around? Roman was still deep in thought when his phone rang. It was Marcus Wellington. "Roman, what's this I hear about you starting a chess program for underprivileged kids?" Marcus asked without preamble. Roman frowned. "How did you hear about that?" "This is the Hamptons. Nothing stays secret for long," Marcus laughed. "Especially when Roman Blake suddenly develops a social conscience. Or is this about that maid who beat you at chess? What was her name again?" "Amira," Roman said, his voice cooler now. "And yes, she's designing the program. She's incredibly qualified." "I'm sure she is," Marcus said, his tone suggesting otherwise. "Just be careful, Roman. People might start to talk." "Let them," Roman replied. "I don't care what people think." "Since when?" Marcus asked, sounding genuinely surprised. Roman ended the call shortly after, feeling uneasy. He'd never cared about gossip before. In fact, he'd often enjoyed being the subject of it. But the idea of Amira being dragged into it bothered him more than he wanted to admit. Later that day, Roman found Amira in the garden. She was sitting on a bench near the rose bushes, reading a book during her break. The afternoon sun caught the highlights in her dark hair, and for a moment, he just stood watching her, struck by how at home she looked among the flowers. "Is this seat taken?" he asked, approaching the bench. Amira looked up, marking her place in the book. "It's your garden, Mr. Blake." "We're back to Mr. Blake now?" he asked, sitting beside her. She closed her book completely. "I thought it might be better to keep things professional." "Because I asked you to dinner?" "Because this, whatever this is complicated enough already," she said. Roman sighed, looking out at the garden. "I had my legal team draw up the contract for the chess program," he said, changing the subject. "Everything we discussed is there, plus some additional funding for scholarships." Amira's eyes widened slightly. "Scholarships? For the kids who show exceptional promise," Roman explained. to help with college expenses down the road. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, he said simply. Consider it an investment in the future. They sat in silence for a moment, the tension between them softening. What are you reading? Roman finally asked, nodding toward the book in her lap. Amira hesitated before showing him the cover. The Queen's Gambit. It's about a female chess prodigy, Roman finished for her. I've read it. Twice, actually. She looked surprised. You have. I told you. I love chess, he said with a smile. Though clearly not as much as you do. It was the one thing that made sense after my parents died, Amira admitted quietly. The rules never changed. The board was always the same. It was comforting. Roman felt a sudden urge to reach for her hand, but resisted. I understand that. After my mother left and my father became difficult, chess was my escape too. Amira looked at him with new interest. You never talk about your family. Not much to say. Roman shrugged. My mother couldn't handle my father's obsession with success and left when I was 8. My father spent the next 20 years teaching me that love is for fools and the only thing that matters is winning. That explains a lot, Amira said thoughtfully. About what? About why you hide behind arrogance and challenges, she said. Like that ridiculous marriage bet at the party. Roman laughed despite himself. You don't pull any punches, do you? Life's too short for games, she said. At least, games that aren't chess. He found himself studying her face, the intelligence in her eyes, the firmness of her jaw. Have dinner with me, he said again. Not as your boss. Not as Roman Blake, the millionaire. Just as someone who enjoys your company. Amira looked conflicted. I don't know, Roman. We can eat right here in the garden, he suggested. Nothing fancy. Just food and conversation. After a long moment, she nodded. All right, but just dinner. Roman felt an unexpected surge of happiness. Just dinner, he agreed. Tomorrow night? Tomorrow night, she confirmed, standing up. I should get back to work now. As she walked away, Roman realized he was more excited about a simple dinner in his garden than he had been about any of the exclusive galas and parties he'd attended in recent years. Something was definitely changing in him, and he wasn't sure whether to be thrilled or terrified. The next evening, Roman arranged for a small table to be set up in the garden, near the bench where he and Amira had talked. He chose the spot carefully, away from the main house where the staff would be working, offering them privacy. He'd told the chef to prepare something simple but delicious: grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, fresh bread. Nothing ostentatious. No caviar or champagne or any of the usual trappings of wealth he surrounded himself with. Roman changed his clothes 3 times before settling on dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt. He wanted to look casual, approachable, not like the intimidating businessman he usually presented to the world. At 7 o'clock, he made his way to the garden, feeling strangely nervous. He found Amira already waiting, wearing a simple blue dress that made her look softer somehow, less guarded. You look beautiful, he said honestly. Thank you, she replied, looking a bit uncomfortable with the compliment. This is nice, she added, gesturing to the table with its candles and flowers. They sat down, and for a moment, neither knew quite what to say. Then Amira smiled. So, what does Roman Blake talk about when he's not being a millionaire CEO? The tension broken, Roman laughed. Books, music, the weather. The weather. Amira raised an eyebrow. Really? Okay, not the weather, he conceded. How about this? Tell me something about yourself that would surprise me. Amira thought for a moment as the staff served their first course. I love old movies. The black and white ones that no one watches anymore. Which ones? Casablanca is my favorite, she said. My grandfather and I used to watch it every Christmas. We'll always have Paris, Roman quoted with a smile. You've seen it. Many times, he nodded, though I always thought Rick made the wrong choice at the end. Letting Ilsa go, Amira shook her head. It was the right thing to do. But he loved her, Roman argued. Sometimes love means putting someone else's needs before your own, she said softly. Roman considered her words. I'm not sure I know how to do that, he admitted. Maybe you just haven't had the right reason to try, Amira suggested. Their eyes met across the table, and Roman felt that connection again, stronger this time. Dinner continued, their conversation flowing easily from movies to books to childhood memories. Roman found himself telling Amira things he'd never shared with anyone, about his father's coldness, his mother's abandonment, his determination to succeed at any cost. "Is it worth it?" Amira asked as they finished dessert. "All the money, the success, but no real connections with people." The question caught Roman off guard. "I never thought about it that way," he said slowly. "I just wanted to prove my father wrong, to show him I could be even more successful than he was." "And did you?" "Yes, but he died before I could really rub it in his face," Roman said with a bitter laugh. "So I guess the joke was on me after all." Amira reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. "I am sorry." The simple gesture of comfort affected Roman more than he expected. No one had offered him genuine sympathy in a very long time. "What about you?" he asked, changing the subject. "What do you want from life, Amira?" She sat back, considering the question. "To make a difference, I suppose. To help kids like me see possibilities beyond their circumstances. That's why this chess program means so much to me." "You're going to be amazing at it," Roman said with certainty. "Thank you for giving me the chance," she replied. As the evening grew cooler, Roman suggested they move to the small fire pit nearby. They sat side by side on a cushioned bench, watching the flames dance in the darkness. "Can I ask you something personal?" Roman said after a comfortable silence. "Depends on the question," Amira replied cautiously. "Why did you really accept my offer to start the chess program? You could have told me to go to hell after the way I behaved at that party." Amira looked into the fire. "At first, I was going to, but then I realized it wasn't just about you or me. It was about all those kids who could benefit from it." She paused, and maybe I was curious too. "About what?" "About whether there was more to Roman Blake than the arrogant rich guy everyone sees." "And what's the verdict?" he asked, suddenly anxious for her answer. Amira turned to look at him, the firelight reflecting in her eyes. "The jury's still out," she said, but her smile took any sting out of the words. Without thinking, Roman reached up to brush a strand of hair from her face. His hand lingered, and for a moment he thought she might pull away. Instead, she remained still, her eyes questioning. "I want to kiss you," he said softly, "but I promised no complications." "This would definitely be a complication," she agreed, her voice just above a whisper. "A good one, though?" he asked hopefully. Before she could answer, the sound of footsteps on the garden path broke the moment. They moved apart as Jessica, Roman's assistant, approached with an apologetic expression. "I'm so sorry to interrupt, Mr. Blake, but there's an urgent call from Tokyo. The Nakamura deal is in trouble." Roman sighed, the real world intruding on the perfect bubble they'd created. "I'll be right there," he told Jessica, who nodded and retreated back to the house. "Duty calls," Amira said, standing up. "I'm sorry," Roman said, genuinely disappointed. "This dinner was nice." "Yes, it was," she agreed. "Thank you. Can we do it again?" he asked. Amira hesitated, then nodded. "Maybe. But Roman, we should be careful. This, whatever this is, it's complicated for both of us." "Because I'm your boss?" "Because we come from different worlds," she corrected him. "And I'm not sure either of us is ready for what happens when those worlds collide." With that, she turned and walked back toward the staff quarters, leaving Roman staring after her, the question of the almost kiss hanging in the air between them. The next morning, Roman was in a meeting with his executive team when his phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Just heard your maid is designing your new charity project. Romantic or just convenient? Either way, people are talking. Thought you should know." Roman felt a surge of anger. He excused himself from the meeting and called Marcus immediately. "What exactly are people saying?" he demanded when Marcus answered. "Easy, Roman," Marcus said. "I'm just the messenger. Some folks at the club were speculating that you've got a thing for the help. Others think it's a publicity stunt." "It's neither," Roman said firmly. "Amira is qualified and talented. End of story." "If you say so," Marcus replied, unconvinced. "But you might want to keep things professional. These kinds of rumors can get messy." After hanging up, Roman paced his office, furious. The idea that people were reducing Amira's talent to gossip about her relationship with him made him angrier than he'd been in years. He was still fuming when Jessica knocked on his door. "Sir, Ms. Cole is here with the finalized program outline. Roman took a deep breath, composing himself. Send her in. Amira entered, looking professional in simple black pants and a blue blouse. If last night's almost kiss was on her mind, she didn't show it. I've completed the framework for the first 6 months, she said, handing him a folder, including staffing needs, facility requirements, and curriculum development. That was fast, Roman said, impressed. I've been thinking about this for years, she admitted. I just never had the resources to make it happen. Roman opened the folder, scanning the detailed plans she'd created. This is excellent, Amira. When can you start? I was thinking next month, she said. That would give me time to help find my replacement on household staff. Don't worry about that, Roman said dismissively. Mrs. Winters can handle it. Amira frowned slightly. I don't want to leave them short-handed. They've been good to me. Roman nodded, chastened by her consideration for others, something that wouldn't have occurred to him. Of course, whatever timeline works for you. As Amira began explaining specific aspects of her plan, Roman found himself only half listening, distracted by Marcus's warning and his own growing feelings for her. Roman, Amira's voice broke into his thoughts. Is something wrong? You seem distracted. He hesitated, then decided on honesty. Marcus called. Apparently, there are rumors about us. Amira's face fell. What kind of rumors? The predictable kind. That I hired you for reasons other than your qualifications. He watched her reaction carefully. I am sorry. I should have anticipated this. To his surprise, Amira didn't seem shocked. I figured something like this would happen, she said quietly. People see what they expect to see. It doesn't bother you? Of course it bothers me, she said. But it doesn't surprise me. A woman like me suddenly working closely with a man like you. People will talk. A woman like you? Roman repeated, frowning. You know what I mean? Amira said. I clean your house, Roman. I'm not part of your social circle. I don't belong in your world. That's ridiculous, he protested. Is it? She challenged him. Look around you. This mansion, your company, your friends. When was the last time any of them treated someone like me as an equal? Roman wanted to argue, but found he couldn't. She was right. His world was exclusive by design, built to keep people like Amira out. I don't care what people say, he said finally. You should, Amira replied, because they'll say worse about me than they will about you. That's how these things work. Roman moved closer to her, wanting to reassure her somehow. We can prove them wrong. The program will speak for itself. Your work will speak for itself. I hope you're right, she said, but she didn't sound convinced. About last night, Roman said, changing the subject. I meant what I said. I want to see where this could go. Rumors be damned. Amira looked up at him, conflict clear in her eyes. I don't know if that's a good idea. Because of what people might say? Because I don't want to be just another conquest for Roman Blake, she said bluntly. And because I've worked too hard to be taken seriously to throw it all away for whatever this is. Her words stung, but Roman couldn't blame her. His reputation with women wasn't exactly stellar. What if I prove to you that this is different? He asked. That you're different? How would you do that? By showing you that I respect your work more than I care about my reputation, he said. Let me help make this chess program something amazing. No strings attached. No expectations. Amira studied his face, looking for sincerity. And us? What happens with this? She gestured between them. That's up to you, Roman said softly. I'm not going anywhere. For a long moment, Amira was silent. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, let's focus on the program for now. See where things go. It wasn't exactly what Roman had hoped for, but it was a start. Deal, he said, offering his hand. She took it, and the simple touch of her hand sent a jolt through him that no business deal ever had. The weeks that followed were some of the busiest and happiest of Roman's life. He threw himself into helping Amira establish the chess program, using his connections to secure a perfect location in a community center near where her grandfather had taught. They worked side by side, Roman handling the logistics and finances while Amira developed the teaching materials and recruited instructors. Their professional relationship blossomed, built on mutual respect and shared passion for the project. And though they were careful to keep appropriate boundaries, their personal connection deepened too. Late nights working led to conversations about their hopes and fears. Quick lunches between meetings became opportunities to share stories from their vastly different childhoods. Roman found himself changing in subtle ways. He canceled a weekend in Paris to help Amira set up the classroom space. He donated his own prize chess collection to the program. For the first time in his adult life, someone else's dreams mattered as much as his own. One evening, as they were preparing for the program's opening day, Roman watched Amira arranging chess sets on tables with careful precision. The joy on her face as she realized her dream was coming true made something twist in his chest. "Your grandfather would be proud," he said quietly. Amira looked up, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "I think he would," she agreed. "I just wish he could see it." "He can see it through you," Roman said, moving closer. "Through every child who walks through those doors and learns what you have to teach them." Amira smiled, touched by his words. When did Roman Blake become such a softie? "I think it happened around the time a certain chess prodigy beat me in 3 moves," he admitted with a smile. Their eyes met, and the connection between them seemed to strengthen, almost tangible in the quiet room. Roman took a step toward her, and this time there was no assistant to interrupt them, no business emergency to pull him away. "Amira," he said softly, "I know we agreed to focus on the program, but I can't stop thinking about you. About us." She didn't back away. "I've been thinking about it too," she admitted. And I'm scared," she said honestly. "Not of you, but of what happens when reality catches up to us. When the world reminds us how different we are. Maybe those differences don't matter as much as we thought," Roman suggested, reaching for her hand. This time, she let him take it. "Maybe," she whispered. Slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, Roman leaned down and kissed her. It was gentle at first, tentative, but when Amira's arms slipped around his neck, the kiss deepened into something that felt like coming home. When they finally broke apart, Roman rested his forehead against hers. "I wanted to do that since the night you beat me at chess." Amira laughed softly. "Really? I thought you just wanted a rematch." "That too," he admitted with a grin. "But mostly this. For a perfect moment, everything seemed right in Roman's world. He had found something, someone, who mattered more than success or status or winning. But as they would soon discover, the world wasn't quite ready to let Roman Blake and Amira Cole find happiness so easily. The rumors Marcus had warned about were just the beginning, and forces neither of them anticipated were already moving to tear them apart. The grand opening of the Cole Chess Academy was scheduled for Saturday morning in late August. Amira had worked tirelessly to prepare everything, from the teaching materials to the classroom setup. Roman had handled the publicity, inviting local media to cover the event. The night before the opening, Roman hosted a small dinner party at his estate for the program's supporters and staff. Amira sat beside him at the table, looking elegant in a simple black dress he'd insisted on buying for her. To Amira Cole, Roman said, raising his glass in a toast, whose vision and dedication made this program possible. As everyone clinked glasses, Roman couldn't help but notice how naturally Amira fit at his side, as if she had always belonged there. They had been careful to keep their relationship private, but he found himself caring less and less about hiding his feelings for her. After dinner, as the guests mingled on the terrace, Marcus Wellington approached them, champagne in hand. "Quite an accomplishment," he said, nodding to Amira. "Roman tells me you designed the entire curriculum yourself." "Yes," Amira replied, her tone polite but reserved. She hadn't forgotten that Marcus was likely one of the sources of the rumors about them. "Based on my grandfather's teaching methods." "Fascinating," Marcus said, though his eyes suggested otherwise. He turned to Roman. "A word in private, old friend?" Roman hesitated, glancing at Amira. "Can it wait?" "I'm afraid not," Marcus insisted. "Business matter. Very urgent." With a sigh, Roman excused himself and followed Marcus to a quiet corner of the terrace. "What's so urgent?" he asked, not bothering to hide his annoyance. Marcus lowered his voice. "Are you sleeping with her?" Roman stiffened. "That's none of your business." "So that's a yes," Marcus said, shaking his head. "Roman," I'm saying this as your friend. This looks bad. Really bad. I don't care how it looks, Roman replied coldly. Well, you should. The board is concerned. The board? What does my personal life have to do with the company? Marcus sighed, as if explaining something to a child. Everything, when you're the face of that company. Half the people here think you're having some midlife crisis, and the other half think she's after your money. Roman's hands clenched into fists. You don't know anything about her. Maybe not, Marcus conceded, but perception is reality in our world. And right now, the perception is that Roman Blake is being played by his maid. Former maid, Roman corrected him sharply. And program director, chess prodigy, and the most genuine person I've ever met. So you can take your concerns and... Roman, Marcus interrupted. I'm just looking out for you. Whatever this is with her, keep it private. That's all I'm saying. As Marcus walked away, Roman stood fuming. He looked across the terrace where Amira was now speaking with an elderly couple who had donated to the program. She was smiling, animated, passionate about her work. The sight of her calmed him somehow. When the party finally ended and the last guest had left, Roman found Amira in the library, lost in thought as she stared out the window. Hey, he said softly, coming to stand beside her. You okay? She turned to him with a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Just nervous about tomorrow. It's going to be perfect, he assured her, pulling her into his arms. Everyone's going to see how amazing you are. Amira rested her head against his chest. What did Marcus want? Roman hesitated. Nothing important. She pulled back to look at him. You're a terrible liar, Roman Blake. He sighed, knowing she deserved the truth. He thinks our relationship is bad for business. That makes me look foolish. And what do you think? She asked quietly. Roman cupped her face in his hands. I think I've never been happier in my life. And anyone who can't see that can go to hell. Amira laughed softly, but there was worry in her eyes. I don't want to cause problems for you. You're not the problem, he said firmly. The problem is people like Marcus who think they get to decide who belongs in my life. He kissed her then, trying to convey everything he felt but couldn't yet put into words. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. Stay with me tonight, he whispered. Amira hesitated. Are you sure? Your reputation isn't worth anything if it means hiding how I feel about you, he finished for her. Stay, please. After a moment, she nodded. Okay. That night, as they lay together in his bed, Roman held Amira close, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him. For the first time in his adult life, he felt completely at peace. What are you thinking about? She asked, her voice soft in the darkness. How strange life is, he replied. A few months ago, I was so sure I knew exactly what I wanted. Success, money, power. And now I just want you, he admitted. Everything else seems less important somehow. Amira propped herself up on one elbow, looking down at him. Roman Blake, are you telling me you're willing to give up being a ruthless businessman for love? He smiled at her teasing tone. Maybe not completely ruthless, but definitely more selective about who I crush under my expensive shoes. She laughed and settled back against his chest. Progress. As Amira's breathing deepened into sleep, Roman remained awake, watching the moonlight play across her face. He had never believed in love, not the kind that changed people, that made them better versions of themselves. But here he was, holding the proof in his arms, and he was terrified of losing her. The opening day of the Cold Chess Academy dawned bright and clear. Roman and Amira arrived early to make final preparations. The community center buzzed with excitement as children and parents began to arrive. Amira moved through the crowd, greeting everyone with warmth and enthusiasm. Roman watched her from across the room, filled with pride. This was her moment, her dream coming true. Local news crews arrived, setting up cameras and microphones. Roman had arranged for the coverage, wanting the world to see what Amira had created. As the official ceremony began, Roman stepped up to the podium to introduce Amira. Looking out at the gathered crowd, he felt a surge of happiness. When I first met Amira Cole, he began, she beat me at chess in 3 moves. A ripple of laughter moved through the audience. I was impressed, of course, Roman continued. But what I didn't realize then was that those 3 moves would change my life. His eyes found Amira in the crowd, and she smiled at him, encouraging him to continue. Amira showed me that true talent doesn't care about your background or your bank account. It comes from passion, dedication, and heart. That's what this academy is all about, giving every child the chance to discover their own potential, regardless of their circumstances. As Roman introduced Amira to the podium, the crowd erupted in applause. She spoke eloquently about her grandfather's legacy and her vision for the academy. The children listened attentively, drawn to her genuine enthusiasm for the game. After the speeches, as the children settled at the chess table for their first lesson, Roman noticed a familiar face at the back of the room. Marcus Wellington, watching the proceedings with an unreadable expression. Roman approached him warily. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Professional curiosity," Marcus replied. "I wanted to see what all the fuss was about." Before Roman could respond, a reporter approached them, microphone in hand. "Mr. Blake, could we get a statement about your involvement with the academy? Is this a new direction for your philanthropy?" Roman smiled for the camera. "It's a cause I believe in deeply. Chess teaches strategic thinking, patience, and perseverance, skills every child deserves to learn." "In your relationship with Ms. Cole?" the reporter pressed. "There are rumors that you two are more than just business associates." Roman hesitated, aware of Marcus tensing beside him. The smart move would be to deflect, to keep things professional. But as he looked across the room at Amira, helping a young girl set her chess pieces, he made his decision. "Amira Cole is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met," he said honestly. "I'm fortunate to have her in my life, both professionally and personally." The reporter looked delighted at this confirmation. "So the rumors are true? You're dating?" "We're building something important together," Roman said, deliberately vague, but not denying anything. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I should get back to the event." As the reporter moved away, Marcus grabbed Roman's arm. "What are you doing? We just talked about this." "No, you talked." "I listened," Roman replied, pulling his arm free. "And I decided I don't care what you or anyone else thinks. Amira makes me happy. The rest is noise." Marcus shook his head. "You're making a mistake, Roman. This won't end well." "Maybe not," Roman admitted. "But at least it will be my mistake to make." As Marcus left, Roman rejoined Amira, who was now surrounded by excited children asking questions about chess strategies. "Mr. Blake, do you know how to play too?" one boy asked. Roman smiled, kneeling down to the child's level. "I do, but Ms. Cole is much better than I am." "He's being modest," Amira said with a smile. "Mr. Blake is an excellent player. Can we see you play against each other?" Another child asked eagerly. Roman looked at Amira, eyebrows raised in question. She nodded, a gleam of challenge in her eyes. "All right," Roman agreed, "but I should warn you all. The last time we played, Ms. Cole beat me in just 3 moves." The children gasped in amazement. "Can you do it again?" they asked Amira. "Let's find out," she said, moving toward the demonstration board at the front of the room. As they set up the pieces, Roman leaned close to whisper, "Go easy on me this time. My ego can only take so much." Amira laughed. "Where's the fun in that?" Their game drew a crowd, not just children but parents and reporters too. Roman played his best, but Amira was simply better. When she finally said, "Checkmate," the room erupted in applause. "And that, kids," Roman announced, "is why Ms. Cole is your teacher and not me." The day continued with more lessons, games, and excitement. By the time the last family left, Amira was glowing with happiness, though clearly exhausted. "You were amazing," Roman told her as they cleaned up. "Those kids adore you already." "It was perfect," she agreed. "Better than I ever imagined." Roman pulled her into his arms. "I'm so proud of you." As they embraced, neither noticed the photographer outside the window, capturing the intimate moment with his telephoto lens. The next morning, Roman woke to his phone buzzing incessantly. Still half asleep, he reached for it, careful not to wake Amira, who was curled against his side. It was Jessica, his assistant. "Mr. Blake, I'm sorry to call so early, but there's a situation you need to address immediately." "What situation?" Roman asked, instantly alert. "There's an article in the Herald this morning about you and Ms. Cole." With photos. Roman sat up, his stomach dropping. What kind of photos? Nothing scandalous, Jessica assured him. Just the two of you embracing at the academy yesterday. But the article, it's not flattering, sir. Send it to me, Roman said grimly. After hanging up, he slipped out of bed and went to his office, not wanting to disturb Amira. The email from Jessica was already waiting with a link to the article. The headline made his blood boil. Tech Tycoon's Charity Chess Program. Noble cause or romance cover-up? The article insinuated that the entire chess academy was nothing more than an elaborate way for Roman to legitimize his relationship with former house cleaner Amira Cole. It quoted sources close to Blake, suggesting that the relationship had begun while Amira was still employed as his maid, and that the chess program was created to give her a more suitable position. Worst of all, it questioned Amira's qualifications, suggesting that her role was based on her relationship with Roman rather than her skills or experience. Roman was furious. He knew exactly who the sources close to Blake were: Marcus Wellington and his gossip-mongering friends. The article was a deliberate attempt to undermine Amira and the academy. He was still seething when Amira appeared in the doorway, her face pale. "I saw the article," she said quietly. "It's all over social media already." Roman crossed the room to her. "Amira, I'm so sorry. I'll fix this. I'll call the newspaper, demand a retraction." "It won't matter," she interrupted. "The damage is done. Those kids, their parents, they'll all think I got this position because I'm sleeping with you." "That's not true," Roman insisted. "Everyone who was there yesterday saw how talented you are, how much the children responded to you." Amira moved away from him, wrapping her arms around herself. "I should have known this would happen. I should have been more careful." "This isn't your fault," Roman said firmly. "It's mine. I should have protected you better." "Protected me?" Amira looked at him sharply. "I don't need protection, Roman. I need respect. The respect I've worked my entire life to earn. And now, because of this article, people will think I got where I am by." She trailed off, unable to finish the thought. Roman felt helpless, a sensation he wasn't used to. He was accustomed to solving problems with money or power or connections. But he couldn't buy back Amira's reputation. "What can I do?" he asked simply. Amira was quiet for a long moment. I think I need some space to figure out what to do next." Roman felt a stab of panic. "Space? What does that mean?" "It means I need to handle this my way," she said, "without you trying to fix everything." "Amira, please. Don't push me away." "Not now." She met his gaze, her eyes full of conflicting emotions. "I'm not pushing you away. I'm trying to stand on my own. Don't you see? If I let you fight this battle for me, it only proves what the article is saying, that I'm dependent on you, that I can't succeed without your help." Roman wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. This was her reputation, her dream at stake. She needed to defend it herself. "Okay," he said finally. "What do you need from me?" "Time," she said, "and for you to let me handle the academy without interference for a while. I need to prove that I'm there because of my abilities, not because of you." The request hurt, but Roman nodded. "Whatever you need. But Amira, please don't doubt how I feel about you. This article, these rumors, they don't change anything for me." "I know," she said softly, "but they change things for me, for how people see me. I need to deal with that." She gathered her things and left soon after, promising to call him later. Roman watched her go, feeling powerless in a way he had never experienced before. Over the next few weeks, Roman honored Amira's request for space. He stayed away from the academy, though it took every ounce of self-control he possessed. He followed the news coverage, which thankfully began to shift focus from the gossip about their relationship to the actual success of the program. Amira texted him occasionally with updates, but kept their communication brief and professional. Each message was like a knife to his heart. So close to the warmth they had shared, yet so distant. At work, Roman was distracted and short-tempered. The tech global merger, once his top priority, now seemed insignificant compared to the fear of losing Amira. One afternoon, David Chun, his CFO, came to his office with concern. "Roman, the board is asking questions. About the academy, about Ms. Cole." "The academy is fully funded and operational," Roman said curtly. and Ms. Cole's personal relationship with me is none of their business. They're worried about the company's image, David pressed. The publicity hasn't been entirely positive. The publicity is irrelevant, Roman snapped. The program is helping kids. That's what matters. David sighed. There's something else. Marcus Wellington has been talking to some of the board members, suggesting that your judgment might be compromised. Roman froze. Compromised how? He thinks you're too emotionally involved with Ms. Cole to make rational decisions. He's proposing a vote of no confidence at the next board meeting. The betrayal hit Roman like a physical blow. Marcus had been his friend for years. They had built their companies side by side, supported each other through countless deals and crises. When is the meeting? Roman asked, his voice dangerously calm. Next Friday, David replied. Roman, you need to take this seriously. Marcus has been gathering support. If you lose this vote, I won't, Roman said with certainty. Give me everything you have on Marcus's recent business dealings, especially anything related to Tech Global. After David left, Roman sat in silence, thinking. He had always known that the business world was cutthroat, but he had never expected this level of betrayal from someone he considered a friend. His phone buzzed with a text from Amira. Can we talk? Tonight, his heart leapt at the message. Of course. My place or yours? Neutral ground, she replied. The cafe near the community center. 7 p.m. Roman spent the rest of the day distracted, wondering what Amira wanted to discuss. Was she ending things completely? Or was she ready to try again? When he arrived at the cafe that evening, he spotted her immediately, sitting at a corner table with a cup of tea. She looked tired but determined. Hi, he said, sliding into the seat across from her. Hi, she replied with a small smile. Thank you for coming. Of course. I've missed you, he admitted. Amira's expression softened. I've missed you too. A flicker of hope ignited in Roman's chest. How are things at the academy? Better, she said. The children don't care about gossip, thankfully. Some parents were concerned at first, but seeing the program in action has won most of them over. And the staff, they follow my lead, Amira said simply. I made it clear that my personal life is separate from my work. Roman nodded, wishing he could reach across the table and take her hand. Amira, I heard about Marcus, she interrupted. About the board meeting. Roman stared at her in surprise. Ow, David told me, she admitted. He called me because he's worried about you. He said you've been different since we've been apart. I have been, Roman acknowledged. I don't like it much. Amira took a deep breath. Roman, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Anything. Did you start the chess program because you wanted to help kids, or because you wanted to be with me? The question caught him off guard. Both, he said after a moment. At first, it was a way to keep you in my life. I won't deny that. But once I saw your passion for it, how much it meant to you, it became important to me too. Amira nodded, as if his answer confirmed something she already knew. And now, if we weren't together, would you still support it? Absolutely, Roman said without hesitation. Those kids deserve the chance you're giving them, regardless of what happens between us. She seemed satisfied with his answer. That's why I came to talk to you. I have a proposal. I am listening. I want to separate the academy from your name, she said. Legally, financially, completely. I want to apply for independent nonprofit status with my own board of directors. Roman felt a flicker of hurt. You want to cut ties with me completely? Not with you, Amira clarified. With your money, your influence. I need to do this on my own, Roman, for myself, and for the kids who deserve a teacher who's there because of merit, not because of who she's dating. And us, Roman asked, almost afraid of the answer. What happens to us in this scenario? Amira reached across the table then, taking his hand. That depends on you. Can you let me do this? Can you step back and let me build something that's truly mine, not ours? Roman looked down at their joined hands, thinking about how much he had changed since meeting her. The old Roman would have been offended by the suggestion that she didn't need his help. The old Roman would have seen it as a rejection, a challenge to his ego. But he wasn't that man anymore. Yes, he said finally. If that's what you need, then yes. The relief in Amira's eyes was worth any wounded pride he might have felt. Thank you, she said softly. But Amira, Roman added, squeezing her hand. Don't shut me out completely. Even if I'm not funding the academy, even if my name isn't on the building, I still want to be part of your life. I want that too, she admitted. More than I should, probably. For the first time in weeks, Roman felt the weight lifting from his shoulders. They weren't back to where they had been, but they were finding their way forward together. As they continued talking, making plans for the academy's transition to independent status, Roman realized something important. He was proud of Amira for standing her ground, for refusing to let their relationship define her work. It was one of the reasons he had fallen for her in the first place. Her strength, her integrity, her refusal to be anything less than who she was. By the time they left the cafe, walking hand in hand through the quiet streets, Roman had made a decision of his own, one that would change everything for him, for Amira, and for the future they might build together. But first, he had a board meeting to deal with, and a friend's betrayal to address. The day of the board meeting arrived with a tension that could be felt throughout Roman's company headquarters. Employees whispered in corners, sensing that something significant was happening behind the closed doors of the executive boardroom. Roman arrived early, impeccably dressed, and utterly calm. He had spent the past week preparing, gathering information, and making plans. He wasn't just fighting for his company now. He was fighting for the future he wanted with Amira. As the board members filed in, Roman noticed the furtive glances, the awkward greetings. These were people he had worked with for years, people who had profited enormously from his leadership. And yet many of them were prepared to turn on him, all because Marcus Wellington had convinced them that Roman's personal life was affecting his business judgment. Marcus arrived last, looking confident as he took his seat across from Roman. "Good morning, everyone," he said smoothly. "Shall we begin?" The meeting started with routine business matters, but everyone knew what was coming. Finally, Marcus cleared his throat and addressed the room. "I believe we need to discuss a matter of some delicacy," he began. "Specifically, concerns about Mr. Blake's recent distractions." Roman leaned forward. "By distractions, I assume you mean my support of the Cole Chess Academy?" "Among other things," Marcus said with a thin smile. "Your relationship with Ms. Cole has raised eyebrows, Roman. The board is concerned about the direction of the company under your leadership." Several board members nodded in agreement. Roman noted who they were, unsurprised by their loyalty to Marcus. "I see," Roman said calmly. "And you feel qualified to judge my personal relationships, Marcus? Even while you're secretly negotiating with Tech Global behind my back." A shocked silence fell over the room. Marcus's face paled slightly. "I don't know what you're talking about." Roman smiled coldly. "Don't you? Because I have emails, Marcus. Emails between you and Tech Global CEO discussing how to use this very vote of no confidence to devalue my company before acquisition." He opened a folder and slid copies of the emails across the table. The board members leaned forward, reading with expressions of growing shock. "This is a misunderstanding," Marcus stammered. "I was simply exploring options." "You were betraying me," Roman corrected him, "using my personal life as a smokescreen while you tried to orchestrate a hostile takeover." The board members began murmuring among themselves, many looking at Marcus with new suspicion. "So before we vote on my leadership," Roman continued, "perhaps we should discuss Mr. Wellington's clear conflict of interest. Or maybe we should talk about the fact that since I met Amira Cole, company profits are up 12%, employee satisfaction has improved, and our community engagement metrics are at an all-time high." He stood now, commanding the room with his presence. "My relationship with Amira hasn't distracted me from business. If anything, it's made me a better leader, more focused, more aware of what really matters." The board members were listening now, many nodding in agreement. "So yes, Marcus, let's have that vote," Roman concluded. "Let's see who this board really trusts to lead this company into the future." The vote was quick and decisive. Marcus's supporters, faced with evidence of his duplicity, abandoned him one by one. By the end, Roman's position was secured by an overwhelming majority. As the meeting adjourned, Marcus approached Roman, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "This isn't over, Roman." "Actually, it is," Roman replied calmly. Your board seat will be reassigned by the end of the day. And if I were you, I'd be careful about your next move. Those emails would make interesting reading for the SEC. Marcus stormed out, leaving Roman surrounded by board members eager to reaffirm their loyalty. He accepted their congratulations politely, but briefly. There was somewhere else he needed to be. Amira was in the middle of a chess lesson when Roman arrived at the community center. He stood at the back of the room, watching as she patiently explained a complex strategy to a group of children. When she noticed him, her face lit up with a smile that made his heart race. She finished her lesson and crossed the room to greet him. "How did the meeting go?" she asked. "I won," he said simply. "Marcus is out." "I'm glad," she said. "Not that I doubted you for a second." Roman took her hand. "Can we talk?" "Somewhere private." Amira nodded, leading him to her small office at the back of the center. "Is everything okay?" she asked as she closed the door behind them. "Better than okay," Roman assured her. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, Amira. About us. About the future. And I've realized something important," he said, taking both her hands in his. "I don't want to just fund your dream. I want to be part of it. Not as your benefactor or your boss, but as your partner." Amira looked confused. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I'm stepping down as CEO of my company," Roman said, the words feeling right as he spoke them. "David Chun will take over. He's more than ready. I'll remain on the board, but my day-to-day involvement will end." "Roman, no," Amira protested. "You can't give up your company for me. I never asked for that." "You didn't have to," he said with a smile. "And I'm not giving it up for you. I'm giving it up for me. For the life I want to live. A life that includes teaching chess to kids who need it, alongside the woman I love." The word hung in the air between them. He hadn't planned to say it, but now that he had, he knew it was true. He loved her completely, unreservedly. "The woman you love?" Amira repeated softly. Roman nodded. "If she'll have me." Amira's eyes filled with tears. "But your company, your whole life, is changing for the better," he finished for her. "Amira, meeting you, watching you fight for your dream, it made me realize how empty my success felt. I don't want to be remembered for the deals I closed or the money I made. I want to make a real difference. With you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Amira's eyes widened as he opened it to reveal not a diamond ring, but a carved wooden chess piece, a queen. "This belonged to your grandfather," Roman explained. "Mrs. Winters found it among your things when you moved out. I had it mounted for you." Amira took the box with trembling hands. "It's beautiful. But Roman, this isn't a proposal," he finished with a smile. "No, not yet. That's coming, but I wanted to do this right. I wanted you to know that I see you, Amira, not as the woman who beat me at chess or as someone I can impress with my money, but as the incredible, strong, talented woman you are." Tears were flowing freely down Amira's cheeks now. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll let me be part of your life," Roman said. "Say you'll let me prove that what I feel for you is real. That it's not about winning or losing, but about finding something that matters more than any game." Amira looked from the chess piece to Roman's face, her expression softening. "I love you too," she whispered. "I think I have from that first day, when you asked why I was cleaning your house when I should be teaching at Oxford." Roman pulled her close, his heart fuller than he had ever known possible. "So what now?" he asked. "Partners." Amira nodded against his chest. "Partners. In everything." As they held each other in that small office, surrounded by chessboards and children's drawings, Roman knew he had finally found what he had been searching for his entire life. Not success or status or victory, but something far more valuable. A love worth more than any game. A future built on mutual respect and shared dreams. And a happiness he had never believed possible until Amira Cole sat down at his chess table and changed everything in just 3 moves. 6 months had passed since Roman stepped down as CEO of his company. The transition had been smoother than anyone expected, with David Chun proving to be an excellent leader. Roman remained on the board, attending quarterly meetings and offering guidance when asked, but his daily focus had shifted entirely. The Cole Chess Academy had flourished, expanding to 3 locations across the city. Roman and Amira worked side by side, their complementary skills creating something neither could have built alone. Roman handled the business aspects, fundraising, expansion planning, and financial management, while Amira focused on teaching and curriculum development. On a crisp fall morning, Roman stood at the back of the original academy location, watching Amira lead a group of children through an advanced strategy session. Her face glowed with passion as she moved pieces across the demonstration board, explaining concepts in simple terms that even the youngest students could grasp. And that's why positioning is so important, she was saying. Sometimes the strongest move isn't taking your opponent's piece, but putting your own piece in a position of strength for later. A small girl with braided hair raised her hand. Like when Mr. Blake let you win that first game? The children giggled, and Amira shot Roman an amused look. This had become something of a running joke between them and the students. Mr. Blake didn't let me win, Amira corrected gently. He just didn't see what was coming. That's true, Roman called from the back of the room, drawing the children's attention. Miss Cole beat me fair and square, and it was the best loss of my life. More giggles erupted as Amira dismissed the class for their lunch break. The children filed out, chattering excitedly about chess moves and strategies. You're encouraging their misbehavior, Amira teased as Roman approached. Just telling the truth, he replied, kissing her cheek. Besides, they love the story. The mighty Roman Blake, defeated by their beloved teacher. Amira smiled, leaning into him slightly. They love you too, you know. Especially when you tell them stories about all the famous people you've beaten at chess. Only half of those stories are exaggerated, Roman defended with a grin. Their easy banter was interrupted by Mrs. Winters, who now worked as the Academy's administrative assistant. Ms. Cole, there's a gentleman here to see you. He says he's from a National Chess Federation. Amira and Roman exchanged surprised looks. Send him in, Amira said. A tall, distinguished man in his 60s entered the classroom, carrying a leather briefcase. Ms. Cole? I'm Walter Richards, Director of Youth Programs for the National Chess Federation. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Richards, Amira said, extending her hand. This is my partner, Roman Blake. Richards shook both their hands. I've heard a great deal about your program here. Your students performed remarkably well at the regional tournament last month. They worked very hard, Amira said proudly. We're still shocked that 3 of them qualified for the state finals. That's actually why I'm here, Richard said, opening his briefcase and removing a folder. The Federation is launching a new national initiative to bring chess education to underserved communities across the country. We're looking for successful models to replicate, and your academy has caught our attention. Roman watched Amira's face light up with excitement. What exactly are you proposing? He asked. We'd like to offer Ms. Cole a position as National Youth Program Director, Richards explained. She would oversee the implementation of her curriculum in participating schools and community centers nationwide. It would involve significant travel, of course, but the impact would be tremendous. Amira looked stunned. Mr. Richards, I'm flattered, but before you answer, Richards continued, I should mention that we're also interested in Mr. Blake's business model for the Academy. The public-private partnership you've created is exactly the sustainable approach we're looking for. Now it was Roman's turn to look surprised. You've been researching us quite thoroughly. Richards nodded. Your work here is impressive. You've created something special, not just a chess program, but a genuine community. The Federation believes your approach could transform how chess is taught across the country. Could you give us some time to discuss this? Amira asked. Of course, Richards said, handing her the folder. All the details are in here. Take a few days to think it over. I'll be in town until Friday. After Richards left, Amira turned to Roman, her eyes wide with excitement and uncertainty. National Program Director, she whispered. Roman, this is huge. It's what you deserve, he said, genuinely happy for her. Your grandfather would be so proud, Amira. She opened the folder, scanning the details of the offer. The salary is generous, and the reach of the program, thousands of children across the country. It's an amazing opportunity, Roman agreed. Amira looked up at him, her excitement dimming slightly. But what about us? What about what we've built here? We'll figure it out, Roman assured her. This is your dream, Amira. I won't stand in the way of that. She touched his face gently. But it's our dream now. I don't want to make this decision alone. Roman took her hand, kissing her palm. Then we'll make it together. Let's take some time to think about it. That evening, Roman and Amira sat on the terrace of what was now their shared home. After months of dating, Amira had finally moved in, though she'd insisted on maintaining her small apartment as a symbolic reminder of her independence. The sun was setting over the garden, casting long shadows across the lawn. They had spent the afternoon reviewing the Federation's proposal in detail, discussing the possibilities it presented. You'd be amazing at it, Roman said, refilling their wine glasses. Thousands of kids would benefit from your teaching methods. But it would mean so much travel, Amira replied. Weeks on the road, setting up programs in different cities. I could go with you, Roman suggested. My board responsibilities don't require me to be here all the time. Amira smiled at him gratefully. You do that. In a heartbeat, he said. But there's something else to consider. The academies we've built here need you too. The kids, the instructors you've trained, they all depend on your leadership. Amira sighed, leaning back in her chair. I keep thinking about what my grandfather would say. He always told me chess was about seeing the whole board, not just the piece in front of you. Weissmann, Woman commentet. He also said that sometimes the queen has to leave the king to win the game. Amira added with a small smile. Roman raised an eyebrow. Is that what this feels like? Leaving the king behind? No, she said quickly, reaching for his hand. That's not what I meant. I never expected to have to choose between my professional dreams and my personal happiness. Who says you have to choose? Roman asked. Maybe there's a third option we haven't considered yet. They fell silent, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. Roman's mind was racing, thinking about the past 6 months, the happiest of his life. Working alongside Amira, seeing her confidence grow as the academy flourished, falling more deeply in love with her each day. He didn't want to lose that, but he also didn't want to hold her back from an opportunity that could define her career and help so many children. What if, he said slowly, the Federation could base the national program here, make our academy the headquarters, the training center for instructors from around the country? Amira sat up straighter. Do you think they consider that? It's worth asking, Roman said. You'd still need to travel some, but not constantly. And we could expand our facilities, create a real training center. Hope flickered in Amira's eyes. That could work. We have the space here on the property to build something larger. We could design it together, Roman suggested, warming to the idea. Classrooms, tournament spaces, housing for visiting instructors. A real chess academy, Amira said, her excitement building. Not just for kids, but for teacher training too. Roman smiled, watching her mind work through the possibilities. This was one of the things he loved most about her, her ability to take an idea and transform it into something even better. I'll call Richards tomorrow, Amira decided. See if he's open to a counterproposal. Sounds like a plan, Roman agreed. He hesitated, then added, There's something else I've been wanting to talk to you about. Something I've been thinking about for a while now. Amira looked at him curiously. What is it? Roman took a deep breath. Do you remember that night at my party? When I made that ridiculous bet about marrying the woman who could beat me at chess in 3 moves. Amira laughed. How could I forget? It was the most arrogant thing I'd ever heard. It was, Roman admitted, but was also the luckiest moment of my life, because it brought you into my world. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, different from the one that had held her grandfather's chess piece. This one was newer, smaller. Roman, Amira whispered, her eyes widening. He opened the box to reveal a ring, not a traditional diamond, but a beautiful sapphire surrounded by smaller stones in a pattern that resembled a chessboard. I meant what I said that night, Roman said softly, though I didn't know at the time. The woman who beat me at chess in 3 moves would be the woman I'd marry. If she'll have me. Tears filled Amira's eyes as Roman slid from his chair to one knee beside her. Amira Cole, you've changed everything for me. You made me see that true success isn't measured in money or power, but in the lives you touch and the love you share. Will you marry me? For a moment, Amira didn't speak, and Roman felt a flicker of uncertainty. Then she smiled through her tears and said, On one condition. Name it, he replied immediately. No big society wedding, she said firmly. Just us in my grandfather's old neighborhood. Simple and real. Roman laughed with relief. Deal. He slid the ring onto her finger. Though Marcus Wellington will be devastated not to receive an invitation. Amira laughed too, admiring the ring. It's beautiful, Roman. So different from what I would have expected from you a year ago. I'm different, he said simply. Because of you. She leaned down and kissed him deeply. Yes, she whispered against his lips. Yes, I'll marry you. 2 weeks later, Roman and Amira stood in Walter Richards' hotel suite, presenting their counterproposal for the National Chess Federation program. A national training center, Richards said thoughtfully, reviewing their plans. Based at an expanded Cole Academy. Interesting approach. It allows us to maintain the quality of the program while reaching a national audience, Amira explained. Instructors would come here for intensive training, then return to their communities to implement the curriculum. With regular follow-up and support, Roman added. We've outlined a comprehensive structure in the proposal. Richards nodded, clearly impressed. And you're willing to donate the land for this expansion, Mr. Blake? It's already done, Roman confirmed. The property adjacent to our current academy has been purchased and designated for this purpose. You move quickly, Richards remarked. When something's important, yes, Roman replied, glancing at Amira with a smile. Richards studied them both for a moment. The Federation was hoping for a more traditional arrangement. But I have to admit, your approach has merit. A central training facility would ensure consistency across all program locations. And it would allow Ms. Cole to oversee the program development directly, Roman pointed out. Without constant travel, Amira added, though I'm still willing to make regular visits to participating schools. Richards closed the proposal folder. I'll need to present this to the board. But speaking personally, I think you've found an elegant solution. One that serves both your needs and ours. After shaking hands and agreeing to meet again the following week, Roman and Amira left the hotel, walking hand in hand through the busy city streets. Do you think he'll go for it? Amira asked. He'd be a fool not to, Roman replied confidently. Our proposal offers everything they want, just packaged differently. Amira squeezed his hand. Thank you for finding a way to make this work. For both of us. That's what partners do, Roman said. Find solutions that work for everyone. They stopped at a small cafe for lunch, sitting at an outdoor table in the sunshine. As they ate, Roman noticed Amira looking pensive. Second thoughts? He asked gently. She shook her head, just thinking about how much has changed in a year. Last summer, I was cleaning your house and hiding my chess skills. Now we're building a national program together. It's surreal sometimes. In a good way, I hope. In the best way, she assured him. Though there are still moments when I worry that it's too good to be true, Roman finished for her. I know the feeling. I wake up sometimes and can't believe you're really there beside me. Amira smiled, her doubts fading. We're quite a pair, aren't we? The arrogant millionaire and the chess-playing maid. Former arrogant millionaire, Roman corrected with a grin. I like to think I'm merely confident now. And humble. So very humble, Amira teased. Their laughter was interrupted by a familiar voice. Roman? Roman Blake? They looked up to see Marcus Wellington approaching their table, looking slightly uncomfortable. Roman tensed, instinctively moving closer to Amira. Marcus, he acknowledged coolly. What a surprise. I was just having lunch across the street, Marcus explained. Saw you two sitting here. He hesitated, then added, Congratulations, by the way. I heard about your engagement. Thank you, Roman replied, his tone still guarded. An awkward silence fell. Then Marcus cleared his throat. Look, Roman, I owe you an apology. What I did, trying to undermine you with the board, those leaked stories to the press, it was unforgivable. Roman was taken aback by the unexpected apology. Why did you do it? Marcus sighed. Jealousy, mostly. You've always been one step ahead of me in business. And then when you started changing, becoming less cutthroat, more human, I thought it was weakness, something I could exploit. He glanced at Amira. I was wrong. Amira, always more forgiving than Roman, spoke up. Would you like to join us for coffee, Mr. Wellington? Marcus looked surprised at the invitation. I wouldn't want to intrude. You're not intruding if we're inviting you, she said simply. After a moment's hesitation, Marcus pulled up a chair. Thank you. Roman watched in amazement as Amira engaged Marcus in conversation, asking about his business, his family, his interests outside of work. Slowly, the tension at the table eased. I've been following your chess program in the news, Marcus told Amira. It's impressive what you've accomplished. It's a team effort, she replied, smiling at Roman. And now I hear the National Chess Federation is involved? Marcus asked. Roman nodded, deciding to extend an olive branch of his own. We're finalizing a partnership for a national training center, based at the academy. That's significant, Marcus said, genuine respect in his voice. Congratulations to you both. As the conversation continued, Roman found himself relaxing. The anger he had carried toward Marcus was still there, but diminished somehow. Perhaps Amira's capacity for forgiveness was rubbing off on him. When Marcus finally left, promising to stay in touch, Roman shook his head in wonder. How do you do that? Do what? Amira asked. Make peace so easily, after everything he did to hurt us. Amira shrugged. Holding grudges takes too much energy. Besides, my grandfather always said the true test of a chess master isn't how they win, but how they handle losing. Your grandfather was a wise man, Roman said, not for the first time. He would have liked you, Amira said softly, once he got past the whole millionaire playboy thing. Roman laughed. I like to think so. They finished their lunch and began walking back toward the car. As they passed a small jewelry store, Roman paused, looking at the display window. What is it? Amira asked. I just realized something, he said. We never got an engagement ring for me. Amira raised an eyebrow. Do you want one? I do. Actually, Roman admitted. I want the world to know I'm taken. With a smile, Amira pulled him into the store. They spent the next hour looking at men's rings, finally selecting a simple platinum band with a small sapphire inlay that matched Amira's ring. There, Amira said as the jeweler sized it for Roman's finger. Now we're officially a matched set. 3 months later, on a perfect autumn day, Roman stood waiting in the small community garden that had been William Cole's favorite spot in the city. A modest arch of flowers marked the ceremony space, and simple chairs were arranged in rows for their small group of guests. David Chun stood beside Roman as his best man, while Mrs. Winters sat in the front row, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. The children from the Academy's first class had special seats of honor, each holding a small chess piece that they would present to the couple during the ceremony, a tradition Amira had created to honor her grandfather. Nervous? David asked quietly. Not even a little, Roman replied honestly. For the first time in my life, I'm absolutely certain about something. The string quartet began to play, and Roman looked up to see Amira walking toward him, escorted by Walter Richards, who had become a friend and mentor to them both. She wore a simple white dress, her hair adorned with small white flowers. In her hands, she carried not a bouquet, but her grandfather's chessboard, lovingly restored. As she reached him, Roman felt his heart expand with love. You're beautiful, he whispered. So are you, she replied, her eyes shining with happiness. The ceremony was brief and meaningful, with both Roman and Amira writing their own vows. When it came time for Roman to speak, he took both her hands in his. Amira, before I met you, I thought life was a game to be won, a series of strategic moves designed to defeat opponents and accumulate power. You showed me that the true purpose of the game is to find a worthy partner, someone who challenges you to be better, who sees your weaknesses as opportunities for growth, not points of attack. He squeezed her hands gently. I promise to be that partner for you, to support your dreams as fiercely as my own, to remember that in our game, we either both win or both lose, and to never forget that the 3 moves that brought you into my life were the luckiest moves I've ever made. Tears glistened in Amira's eyes as she began her own vows. Roman, my grandfather taught me that in chess, the most powerful piece, the queen, can move in any direction, unlimited by the constraints that bind others. But even the queen needs the king to complete the game. She smiled through her tears. You are my king, Roman, Not because you rule over me, but because together we are stronger than either of us could be alone. I promise to move through life with you as my partner, to protect what we build together, and to remember that sometimes the best strategy is simply to stay by your side. As they exchanged rings, the children from the academy came forward one by one, placing their chess pieces on the board Amira had carried. When the last piece was placed, the board displayed the exact position from their first game. The moment Amira had said, "Checkmate," and changed both their lives forever. "By the power vested in me," the officiant said, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Roman pulled Amira close, kissing her with all the love in his heart. The small gathering erupted in cheers and applause. At the reception, held in the community center where the first academy had opened, Roman and Amira danced beneath strings of twinkling lights. Children played chess at tables around the perimeter, instructors chatted with parents, and the atmosphere was one of joy and celebration. "Happy?" Roman asked as he held Amira close during a slow dance. "Completely," she replied, "though I keep expecting to wake up and find this was all a dream." "If it is a dream," Roman said, "then it's one we're having together." Across the room, the building plans for the National Chess Training Center were displayed on a large poster board. Construction would begin the following month, with the first instructor training program scheduled for the spring. "Did you ever imagine your life would turn out this way?" Amira asked, following his gaze to the plans. "Never," Roman admitted. "I thought success meant corner offices and billion-dollar deals. I never knew it could look like this, chess boards and children's laughter and you." Amira rested her head against his chest. "My grandfather used to say that chess teaches us that the most valuable moves aren't always the most obvious ones." "Your grandfather really did have a saying for everything, didn't he?" Roman teased gently. "He did." Amira laughed. "But he was usually right." As the evening wound down, Roman and Amira stood at the center's entrance, saying goodbye to their guests. The children from the academy presented them with a special gift, a hand-decorated chess set with pieces they had painted themselves. "For when you teach your own kids someday," one of the girls explained. Roman and Amira exchanged a meaningful look, a conversation without words passing between them. It was a possibility they had discussed only recently, the idea of children of their own to teach and nurture. Later that night, in the quiet of their home, Roman and Amira sat on the terrace where they had shared their first dinner together. The chessboard from the ceremony sat between them, the pieces still arranged in that fateful checkmate position. "Shall we play?" Roman suggested. "For old time's sake." Amira smiled, resetting the board. "I'll go easy on you this time." "Don't you dare," Roman replied. "I've been practicing." As they began to play, Roman looked across the board at the woman who had changed his life with 3 simple moves. He had spent years believing that love was a weakness, a distraction from what really mattered. Now he knew the truth. Love was the only thing that mattered, the only game worth playing, the only victory worth pursuing. And as Amira captured his knight with a smile that still made his heart race, Roman Blake, former ruthless businessman, now devoted husband and mentor to countless children, knew he had finally, truly won. The end.